So yeah, like I was saying, a lot of this makes sense to me, and I like how you laid it out, and this is a really good starting place to like really pull these things together. So I definitely dig it. Um, so okay, so I know, and we don't have to spend forever on it. Like we can just run through it real quick, just to even talk about a few like surface level things.
Okay.
So okay, so I'm gonna give you a few. I'm gonna give you some more information about a few of these things, so you can have more understanding of what they are and how they fall within things. So from Aaron Hill, from Aaron Hill Music. Okay, if you as you're going out to the left where you have fruition experience,
Uh-huh.
um, uh, performance tracks. Performance tracks is actually that would be a branch by itself as far as like a main branch. Even though I'm not really doing a whole lot of performance tracks right now, but because that's still like the biggest thing that I've done that's global and the thing that still is my breadwinner, like my main breadwinner,
Uh-huh.
that would be a main bubble or main branch because um, of everything I just said. And like it's still there. Like right now, I've been okay financially because during this time, since people had to switch things up, my sales as far as my tracks have gone up. What that's allowed me to do is to not have to work on tracks and keep working on my personal brand like I've been doing. Um,
So, is performance tracks under the name of Fruition Experience, or is it something different?
yeah. So Fruition Experience is the name of the group. Fruition Music Incorporated is the name of my company.
Oh, okay. So let me. Okay, got you.
Yeah, and Fruition Experience, yeah, that's just the group. Um, so performance tracks is one of those things where like like I was saying, I haven't had to do a whole lot as far as working because the residual income has been keeping me afloat. I do think that unless I have, and I'm telling you this, on a whole business scale, because this is more about knowing more about the internal aspect of my business life. Um, if these like with all these branches and that kind of thing that we have here, if my income isn't sufficient and if things start to dip down as far as the performance tracks and I really need to do something like to work, then I would be probably jumping back into the tracks because I had already planned on prior to this like last year that I've been just going hard on my personal brand. I was already preparing myself to like switch over to doing jazz and soul tracks
Uh-huh.
um, because of the fact that I was completely stepping away from the gospel thing. And if I was going to do something, it was going to be the jazz and soul tracks. Um, and I started it as far as getting the formula going, but I never continue with it just because it's more fun to work on like my other personal brand stuff. Um, because it's just the most fun and experiential stuff in my life. So, I've been working for that being the thing that brings in the income, and then the performance tracks are the backup plan. You
Okay.
know,
So
um,
I had on the chart for you just now.
yeah. So, yeah, that's really the deal. I honestly, if I locked into a performance track formula, I mean, I would have to sacrifice something else in my schedule that I'm doing now to do it. But if I locked into that, I mean, that still, from a financial perspective, um, could and would probably still be a great long term thing. So like I said, I haven't gone back to it just because I have so much fun living in the inside of my life with everything else. But if for some reason in the near future I feel like I really need to get smart, buckle down on that tip, then I probably would be putting in a couple hours a day as like my 9 to 5 kind of deal.
Mhm.
So anyway, but that's that. So I see how you have fruition experiences, the group, and that live performances and downloads are, a thing there as far as financially speaking. One thing I'll say with fruition is, you know, when I started fruition back in 2012, my I would say probably more of my main focus was, really doing a lot with the group and traveling and those kind of things. Um, Now where I am with it is my solo career is the most important, right?
Yes.
Um, and then after that, unless which I don't really see, um, I really think the next like significant phase of fruition over these next like year or so will be like the release of all the stuff we did between 2012 and 2016 that's like not out there, or it's out there but like I still got professional video, and the stuff needs to be released as like full shows, individual songs, and the whole nine. Like there's a lot of stuff. I think that's the next phase of it. I think as a performer, I really think what's at the forefront now, besides the stuff I do fruition that's here, that's just a part of like this is my band here, like this is what I do. I think
Mhm.
that my solo piece is definitely that's top, and then I think after that the trio thing I think is coming up in rank more so and as more so significant, um, and that's because of the kind of where I am with it. I think it's kind of where I am as far as the kind of stuff I'm playing in that group, which is it stretches from my meditation music to my more contemporary stuff, but it really focuses on it's really like the next thing to the solo thing because I'm the lead instrument in that group, so to speak, lead voice.
Mhm.
So between that and between the fact that I'm a lead voice as far as the instrument, but then also from a vocal standpoint, of even just being a, a person who's thought provoking, and as well as some of my quotes and stuff, and some like I think that that's actually moving to more sort of forefront. So yeah, so myself and then Aaron Hill Trio and then Fruition Experience. Um,
Okay.
yeah, going up to In the Shed. Um, so In the Shed, that concept for me is my way of being able to give back. Is the foundational idea of it, that the tree trunk is like being able to give back on an intermediate to advanced level musically, right? Because essentially I used to teach privately, and I taught for at least a decade privately. But then when I started working more, I started, doing more stuff with my online work as well as being a live musician, that kind of thing. It shifted where I couldn't really teach privately anymore. What I figured I was going to do from there, after making DVDs and a few things that I made, was that I was going to teach online because I knew that that was the way to cover the most people and to get the most out of each expression, right?
Right.
Um, so I started doing that in various ways, and now it's like that's the only thing it makes sense to do. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, yeah, like at some point, maybe when I'm much older, I might have like a couple people for sure, especially because of relationships that I'm just pouring into, because it's just that I'm pouring into some prodigy or something like that. But on a wider scale, my teaching is and will continue to be online. The way that I'm doing it with the in the shed thing is basically where I'm just learning. I'm learning and shedding on things that's important for me for what I'm doing, and I'm passing along the info. So all of the info in the shed is mainly for intermediate to advanced players. The concept, of course, can be, that can wrap around any age group, because I can, like you said, I could have a day when I'm at a school one day having fun with kids, and it's in the shed with the kids and that kind of thing. Um, but that's the main thing. It's taking the people on a journey of where I am as a musician, what I know, and at the level, at the intermediate to advanced level, what I know and what I'm learning myself. So from there, I see you have secular humanists. That wouldn't quite go to secular humanist, just because it's a different thing. Even though secular humanist is just more so foundational, like philosophy for me as far as life. Um, but it would definitely go to the tutorial. It's definitely going to continue with those videos and the tutorials, and this other series that I have called Pocket Piano Tutorials, which is.
So let me ask you, because
Mhm.
when I put secular humanist within the shed, it was kind of like, the way I was thinking about it was, I mean, obviously in the shed was really around music, but it also kind of gave me this feeling of like kind of the private sit down, right? And the secular humanist is the conversational part of you that's like in the shed is kind of conversational, so to speak, loosely speaking. Obviously, tutorials around music is not really conversational per se, but it's the education. In the shed is like educational, conversational. That's what I see.
Around music only.
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So
yeah, so you're saying around music only, but I was saying when I was looking at it, I was like, we could expand it to be educational and conversational around music and your thoughts on life and mindfulness, and you know what I mean? And so the app where you see at the top the app, like there would be sections in the app. So if you see, like, there's the mindfulness meditations, but then there's also like tutorials in there. So I mean, we could be changed up, but that was my thinking.
For sure, and I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so basically, I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I wouldn't spread it out like that, only because the concept of being in the shed is more like a musician who's hacking away at his or her chops, right?
Yeah.
And you can, of course, you could use it to like expand it and say like you could be in the shed on like shedding on your mindfulness and your meditation, like for sure. But what I rather do for that, and actually everything you have lined up, even with the app thing, it actually connects to the same thing. But it just, to me, it would be a different thing.
Okay.
So the all of the stuff dealing with mindfulness, meditation, and my philosophy on life, and all those things, those things will be. You'll have hints of those, like kind of in everything, like as I just talk about regular stuff in life. Um, but that will be more of a central thing. The in the shed branch is more, like I said, it's literally just about learning music or practicing music and learning and just learning music theory and that kind of thing. And then any other thing that I would talk about that would be more on a personal level, even during the in the shed time, it still wouldn't stretch as far as like mindfulness and meditation, because even though that's a relevant topic to life, like it's kind of like, in your music class, you don't expect your teacher to just have a whole conversation about like how to breathe in meditation. I mean, they might like, it might be relevant in some way, but like, you're not gonna talk about that much.
So would you want to group mindfulness with secular humanism, or just have them each be their own thing?
Yeah, secular humanism is closer definitely to mindfulness, meditation, all those things, because secular humanism is about the like purely just the well-being of human beings. So secular humanism is kind of like, that's my foundational philosophy about, like, life, and as far as human beings and human well-being. So yes, that would go now. And here's the thing that's cool about it. So that the app thing that you have, okay. So I've been, and this is a good place of conversation too, because I've had the thought of an app for a while, like for just my own app, right? And it links to really what you grouped up here with just the separation of what I made as far as the in the shed concept. It groups with everything else, because what I essentially saw was that you go into my app would be going into my exclusive world that's away from social media, but you still get the core things that's a part of who I am. So the app would have my inspirational messages popping up for you, because I'm sharing that all day long. The app would have some stuff streaming my music through it, because then you just sustain with my music, all day long in that way. Um, yeah, so I thought about that a while back as like a cool concept, and I, never really moved on it because, of course, getting a programmer and all these things, can be expensive. Um, but my point being that, uh, yeah, if I had an app, which I definitely think is in our future, the app would be, it would basically be geared around easy living, right? Easy living through, and I'm using that like flowery, like speaking in a flowery and poetic way, where it's like when you open up my app, the first thing you should hear is my calming voice and my music, and
Uh,
and that really, for the most part, would be like the main chunk of the experience, where I'll be speaking in some way, be some inspirational kind of things, or and those kind of things, as well as yeah. So of course, right now that's just kind of hashed out in different places. There's the podcast, there's just the music on streaming, and then there's social media. But one day, when it makes sense financially, boom, that would be that. Because then you can just pull up the app, and you could see you could listen to music, you can hear inspirational stuff. Plus, you can see the tour schedule. You can, like, everything is just there. Now that might be website. That might just be a real good mobile website. Like, that might be just that. But at any rate, yeah, mindfulness and meditation should we definitely would group that more into, yeah, the self care side of me, the secular humanist side of me. So that would definitely go there. Um,
okay. I'm gonna retitle some of it, but I hear what you're saying. I'm listening to you.
yeah, yeah, and I'm just throwing out ideas so that way you'll have, even with some of these, even like how you're getting even more of a clue as to like what it is significantly. Um, yeah. So the mindfulness and meditation thing, the downloads thing, 100%, because this is really what this season of recording meditation music and recording that whole neuro, neuromusical
Linguistics.
reprogramming. Well, I have a concept called neuromusical reprogramming, which essentially combines neuro linguistic programming, um, the effects of mindfulness and meditation, along with the science behind the effect of music on the brain. Um, yeah, so I dubbed it neuromusical reprogramming. And the first expression, well, I've been doing other expressions that like fit it, even though I haven't put it under that label. But the first time I used that label was when I created the the first expression with my quotes on it, with the song "Societal Exchange." It was the first one, like really in that vein. But yeah, those I think are going to do well as far as downloads because of the fact that pumping out meditation resources to me is coming close to what I did with the performance tracks, where it's something you can listen to for leisure, but also serves a purpose too. Like it provides this service, serves a purpose. So yeah, I think that's good. Let's see, you got live sessions. That makes sense. The naked TikToks. Yeah, so like the naked TikToks, the mindfulness and meditation, um, and the mindfulness quotes and that kind of thing. Yeah, that all definitely falls into the secular and humanist side of it. Yeah. Like we can group all of that as that. Even, and I don't even just mean as far as this map. I mean the map is really, well, the map is what we're mapping our minds out to be. So yeah, mentally speaking.
The social engagement thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that segment, I mean, obviously, like you said, social engagement will be across, various platforms, but I really, okay, I'll get this sleepy.
Okay, no problem.
I was with really like which areas you spend the most time doing social engagement, and then how that can be tied into other things. So like you'll see it has its own green arrow segment, and then it branches out into the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a tie between the mindfulness with live sessions and the naked TikToks,
right,
going into the mindfulness quotes,
right,
and the merchandise. So I'm thinking merchandise would be like, you know how they Hay House puts out like what do you call them? Like oracle cards or not tarot cards. They're oracle cards, or there's another name for them. Like Science of Mind actually has a card deck. There are like 52 cards in the deck, or 72 is usually 52 or 72 is the common.
Okay.
And each card has a quote or a quote from Ernest Holmes on it, or something else. So the way that you have like these 100 quotes, we could turn them into a card deck.
Okay. Right.
That people could pull, like you pull a card a day, or or they're perpetual cards. They're not dated.
I understand exactly what you're saying. That's an interesting idea. I like that. I've never thought about that, but like you say, when you think about it in relationship to some of these other card decks, I like that idea. That's actually a cool idea.
Yeah, so I was thinking card decks and also a perpetual, and we could turn it into a perpetual calendar, which would be really dope. Because it would be a spiral bound calendar that had dates on it, but it's perpetual, so there's no day or year on it, so it'll just say November 1st, and you just keep flipping the calendar. You don't have to get a new one every year.
But doesn't the you saying it'll just show? Okay, I see what you're saying. It'll just say the day, but not show it on a actual physical calendar.
Correct. It's perpetual calendar. So it doesn't actually,
Okay.
Correct.
So what you're looking at when you look at it is what? A big page that just says the day on it, and then it has some kind of nice graphic or other stuff with it?
Yeah, so it's like the size of an index card. Like I used to have one.
Okay.
And it's the size of like an index card, and they're bound together.
Okay.
And it has a front and back cover, and then it'll have like January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd. So each day is in there.
Right.
But it doesn't have like Friday, January 1st, 2020.
Right, I understand. That makes
January
sense.
1. So next year, when January 1 rolls around again, you just flip the calendar.
I definitely understand what you're saying. That's a good idea. So somebody had asked me, a couple people had asked me about a calendar before too. One thing that I know that I think should be like top of the merch deck that I'm already starting to look at and work on now is the shirt apparel.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I've just now starting to get started on that, even as far as like to have some designs done or check out some things. And I started pulling out like a few of my most potent and simple, straight to the point quotes. But I think that is going to do well because what I'm looking to start doing real soon is wearing uh my some of my quotes, and that kind of thing on the shirts and on cut off sleeve shirts and t-shirts. Um yeah, like that's the next thing cuz like I'm like my I wish that my keyboard painting job had been finished and that kind of thing because like I'm looking at all of these pictures and they look so amazing and I'm like, man, if I had my keyboard customized, if I had it like how I wanted, where it had my social media handle on there, like, golly, that would have, man. So there's still time. I'm gonna do it. Um,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I'm saying that to say that I'm just looking at the fact that it's a billboard, and so the shirts I'm looking at it the same way. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm looking at it the same way. So yeah, I think I like that concept, the card deal. I like that. That's an interesting concept. Um, public speak and we'll wrap it up in a few seconds as far as this at least. Um, public speaking for sure. Like I'm really looking forward to public speaking.
Yeah, I remember you said that. That's why I put it in here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to public speaking, and I want to start taking some steps and figuring out. Yeah, I want to start taking some steps. So, what I want to know is, does it make sense for me to, even like we were talking about before, pursue something as far as public speaking, like get some training on it? Um, does it make sense to go that route, or does it make sense just to go another guerrilla route? Um, as far
Well,
as the craft
train.
itself.
Yeah, training or like that kind of thing. It definitely doesn't hurt.
Right.
Like one of the things now, everybody says that speaking in Toastmasters is not the same as public speaking.
Okay.
But I don't know if I told you, I joined Toastmasters. I actually skipped my meeting tonight because I just wasn't feeling good.
Okay.
But I mean, you could definitely join Toastmasters or something like that, which is a good way to kind of get your toe in the water.
Yeah.
And because it does, and my mentor, I actually purposely sought her out,
Okay.
and she is like a district director in Toastmasters.
Okay.
So helping me, because there's different speaking styles. So in Toastmasters, like we learn motivational speaking, we learn like conversational speaking,
Yeah.
different types of things, and then from there, a lot of people go to the National Association of I think it's National Association of Speakers or something like that.
Okay.
Which is a little bit different. So that's like people who are getting paid to be keynote speakers.
Right.
But I figured Toastmasters like $70 a year. It's a good way to get started.
Okay. Do you think that that's what I should do? Like based on what you know about me so far, and like my path, you know, what what do you think?
Helpful. I think it would be helpful because there's kind of a formula to it.
Okay.
Like for example, they give us, like in our weekly meetings, you might get 2 minutes to speak,
okay.
and they will give you a topic, and you literally have 2 minutes to speak on that topic. But it gets you in the mode of kind of knowing, even without a clock, how long you have to talk, so that you can get to your point in a certain time period. Make sure that you incorporate what the topic is.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So if you're interested in being in the group that I'm in, because of COVID, everything, of course, is online, and the group that I belong to is based out of Dallas, because that's where my mentor is. No, she's in Houston. It's based out of Houston.
Okay.
But once things open back up, if you wanted to go to other local chapters, you can do that as well.
Okay. I definitely look into it. What I'm gonna do is probably I'm gonna research online or do look at a video or something like that gives me like an overview where I can get like a visceral. I've been around it, but I haven't been in it. Like I've been I've been around people having meetings and everything, heard of it, but just never experienced it. So yeah, I'm gonna check into it.
Yeah, and you can go to I think 3 meetings at no cost. You can visit a meeting 2 or 3 times, like a single meeting, a single group. So if you came to a Baltimore chapter and you visited 3 times, and then you went to another one, you can do that.
Right. So I see where you have from original music to street serenades, jazz clubs, private bookings, on-site performances, tours, CD and download. That all makes sense to me. Okay, what do you? I see you have Street Serenades tour merch. What were you thinking there?
So I think you should have merchandise for the tour. I mean, I think it's kind of dope as hell, one.
Right.
So, and these stuff that could be sold depending on how much demand we have, or it could be just simple stuff like stickers. People love stickers these days. I don't know what the fascination is, but they do.
Okay. Okay.
We could do stickers. You could do simple stuff. Ink pens. You could do plastic cups. We could look at the cheap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer not to do a whole lot, just because generally this kind of stuff you would have to actually have it produced, where some of the other stuff could be set up as drop ship in the other categories. Mm-hmm. But the tour merchandise, ooh, but you know what? Oh, I just had a thought. This is sexy. You know what we could do?
What's that?
Wine tumblers.
You said wine tumblers?
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
So they have these stemless wine. You know how how I had that stainless steel water bottle?
Okay.
You know that black water bottle I have?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, so they have stemless wine glasses that are stainless steel like that. Mm-hmm. And they have a lid that go over them, but you can get them kind of cheap now because they've become more popular.
Okay.
And you could get your name on it or something.
Okay.
That could be sexy. Because then we could go after an alcohol sponsor.
Okay.
A wine company or something. Mm-hmm. Street serenades, get it? Wine glasses, street serenades, real sexy.
Okay. I've never thought in this direction, so it's interesting.
The other thing, well, I was gonna say, chocolate strawberries, like Sherry's berries or something.
Okay.
Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Those are interesting thoughts. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about tour merch? I think probably the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about tour merch would be like, not that I would carry shirts with me, because I've been through that before, and that's not,
Yeah, everybody does shirts. That's why I was trying to think of something different.
Yeah, I mean that would be like, nah, you know what I'm saying? That wouldn't be that. With the exception of the fact that I do feel like in my formula it still has a big place because of the fact that when I get the right designs, like I just think that with a few of the thoughts that I have, I mean I've had people where I put like like when I put up the the quote where I said I'm a whole supporter. And I was like,
you're a what?
I said I'm a hoe supporter. And HOE. HOE, right. And hoe is happiness over everything. And like I've had a number of people that was like, oh, I would really wear that shirt, and the majority of them were women. And and I understood it though, because it is impactful and blah blah blah. So I'm saying that to say I think that even though yeah, I'm not like that kind of person that's like, yeah, sure, 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 but I do feel that in what I'm about to do, there's a place for it because I think it's more so the thoughts that I think. What's another one? Like one of the first ones that I'm gonna do is serendipity plus intention equals life, and it's gonna be like a lot of this is gonna be like sapiosexual aware, like you know. So anyway, um, other than that, and that would be just like people able to just go online and order from if I'm having it made. So anyway, but other than that, I'm trying to think what comes to mind. I've had a few different things as far as merch in the past. I've had mouse pads. I've had pens. I've had. Uh, I'm trying to think what jumps out at me.
I just sent you an email with the wine tumblers so you can get an idea.
Okay.
The ones I sent you aren't the most beautiful ones, but they're actually really affordable. That particular ones I sent you, but I saw some other ones that I like better.
Okay.
Also, the other thing I think that we should do is put your street serenades on thumb drives and sell the thumb drives. That's the new trend that I've been seeing, like at the comedy shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The comedians, they're putting their sets on thumb drives and selling the thumb drive.
Right, I remember you saying that. In fact, yeah, I still think that that's a good idea. Um, yeah, I still think it's a good idea to experiment with. I mean, I do think initially, like just relying on actual just.
My sister would be the first one to buy them.
I'm looking at the wine containers.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, I've never seen these before. So they're like mug, not mugs, but like cups for wine with a top on it. Okay, that's interesting. I like those. That's a really cool thing. That's a really cool idea. Okay, so what happened to that, man? Okay, all right. So I know we're coming down to the wire now, as far as kind of just an overview. Yeah, all this.
So can I shift lanes a little bit?
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep planning as if, but there's a very good chance that the country might go back down under lockdown again.
All right. In fact, I just was having a convo about that the other day. I think that is the case.
And it may happen, in the next week or two, possibly. But honestly, what I believe is that it's going to be a state by state, city by city decision.
Okay.
Because Trump is still in office until January. And since he never put the country under a lockdown to start with, I don't anticipate him doing it now.
Okay.
However, being here, the news